Good evening. I welcome you all for the today's session Input Output Programming in C. So the input output programming in C for PIC microcontrollers involves controlling the analog and digital input output pins of the microcontroller to interact with the external devices such as sensors, actuators and other integrated circuits. Here is a basic overview of how you can perform input-output programming in C for PIC microcontroller. So the the code can be PIC specific header file. Before you start writing your code, you have to include the appropriate header file for the specific PIC microcontroller which we are using. Example, if we are using PIC16F877A microcontroller, you would include the PIC16F877A.h as header file. See, hash include PIC16F877A.h. So this is your header file. Okay. Next, we have to define the configuration. First, we have to define the header file. Then we have to go for configuration. So the PIC microcontroller require configuration bit to be set to configure various settings like oscillator type, watchdog, timer, etc. These bits are usually defined using preprocessor directives. So here you can see configuration. FOSC is nothing but frequency of oscillator, high speed, and watchdog, time enable, then off, bright, on, read, off, etc. So then we have to initialize the input output ports. We have to configure the direction of each pin as either input or output using trace register. Trace register is nothing but tri-state register. Set the pin high or low porting the port register. You have to configure the port B pins as output. So this is the program how we have to configure, initialize the input output ports. The next thing, fourth one is we have to read input from a pin. So to read the digital input from a pin, we have to use the port register. For example, to read the input from pin ORBO, we have to write if port B bits ORBO is equal to 1, then ORBO is high, else ORBO is low. Then we have to close the bracket. Our next one is we have to write output to a pin. To write a digital output to a pin, use the port registers. For example, to set pin ORB1 is equal to high. Then we have to fix the analog input output. If your PIC microcontroller supports analog to digital, that is A to D converter, or digital to analog, that is DAC converters, you can use these features to read analog inputs from sensors or output analog inputs to actuators. Consult your microcontroller's data sheet and use the appropriate ADC or DAC modules and associated registers. And the last one is interrupts. Interrupts are nothing but like PIC microcontrollers support interrupts which allow the microcontrollers to respond to the external events in real time. You can configure interrupts to trigger on changes in input-output pins, timer overflows, etc. So these are the examples of configuring external interrupt on ORBO pin and interrupt bits for external input and also to enable global inputs. So this is the syntax format of the interrupt, like /, example of configuring external inputs on ORBO pin, then interrupt con bits, interrupt enable is equal to 1, then enable ORB0 enable external interrupts, and interrupt control bits GIE is equal to 1, then enable global interrupts. So these are the format of a syntax format of an interrupt. So these are the types of input output programming in C. Like all we have to start with the header file, then configurations, input, output pins, read, write, then initialization, all these are the input output programmings available in C program. Yes, thank you.